Good evening, anybody who's joining us on the live stream. We're just waiting for a few more members to show up for us to have quorum, and then we'll begin. Hi, Larry. How's it going? Nice to see you. I don't see you yet, but it will be nice. Hi, Andrea. How's it going?
Hi, good. Sorry I'm late. I have a class right before and a class in half an hour, so I can't stay that long.
No problem. We
Nice to see you.
appreciate you being here. And I did get notice from Donna just saying that she would be late as well. So I think, Sam, we just need one more person before you begin.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, we're just waiting on one more.
Okay.
Are we? Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, go for it, Andrea.
Are we keeping
haven't
this
started.
same meeting date for the term?
I don't think we have to.
I just know I'm going to run into the same thing every
Yeah.
Wednesday. I have a class till 4 and one that starts at 5. So
Yeah, I don't think that we have to, especially, if our next meeting isn't until another month from now. I think we could readjust the schedule. I think we're sort of both, and Yasmina probably too, if not everybody, might be in the same boat where we sort of have September schedules that are very different from our winter schedules. Sam, is that a possibility for us to adjust the regular time for the remaining meetings of this term?
I think it would be. I'll follow up with Verge just to confirm that, but I don't think every meeting's set in stone and it has to be every Wednesday at this time. So I can definitely follow up with Verge on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying this as an authority because it's definitely Virginia that would have this knowledge, and Tom, you might have it off the top of your head. I'm not sure, but I think it's so long as we have it posted on the corporate calendar and accessible for public, for people to see when it is, with enough notice. I can't remember whether that's 1 week or 2. It should be fine, but again, I defer to the experts.
I don't know if I'm an expert, but I believe you're correct, Sean. That's my understanding as well. The committee can set the dates and times, and as long as you provide the notice, we'll be okay.
while we're waiting for that last person that we need to begin official business, we can just cover some information items that will, make sure that I know a few of you have to leave at 5, others at 5:30. So one thing to bear in mind is that we will be having applications come in for the October deadline of the Arts and Cultural Assistance Program in November, because the deadline is October 28th of this year. So that process will begin again, likely, almost certainly in November, since I don't think 3 days is enough time for staff to review all the applications and distribute them and do all the necessary work with those doing the submissions to schedule anything for October. But so November might be when we'd be looking at that meeting or meetings, depending on the number of applicants. Remember last time we had, I think, well over a dozen applications. So it might be something that we want to consider doing 2 meetings for. And if that's the case, we may want to give some thought if we want to, have a unique committee meeting in October, or if we want to sort of concentrate a cluster of those in November to better address. But again, that's something just to mull, given we can't make a decision on that until there's a quorum. Also, Sam, I wonder if there's any news that you want to share about Culture Days, or any of the other participants here, because I know many of you are also involved in them.
I know for Culture Days, us with the city will be having some games on big games over in Clerk Park. So we'll be setting up for Culture Days on Friday. So if you're available, come and play some games. There'll be lots of fun over at the library on Friday.
And what are the dates again?
Culture Days, they start on September 23rd, this Friday. And I don't know the exact date that they end on.
Yasmina, do you recall?
It runs until October 16th.
Oh, great.
So there are different events happening later on as well. So the 23rd is just the kickoff, and then other events will be happening throughout. So we will be there obviously on the 23rd, and we will have Atomica inside the gallery, because the bugs cannot go outside in this weather. And also we will have an event on the 30th for the National Truth and Reconciliation Day. So we do have the confirmation that the mayor will address people, and also Chief Sayers, and waiting to hear from a couple of other people. So, and there will be a feather wrapping workshop. It's all free, because that's one of the perimeters for the Culture Days, that it has to be accessible to all. So it is free or pay as you may. So the feather wrapping will be drop-in and free, and we hope to have a good turnout.
It's very exciting. Larry, do you have anything? I know that you're involved with the Community Theater Center, or if there's any other groups that you're involved with that are doing anything for Culture Days, or otherwise that you want to promote. Oh, you're on mute, sorry.
I don't think we are directly involved in Culture Days. It's business as usual, and people are still a little COVID concerned, but otherwise, funny, some things sell well and some things don't.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and Sam, I don't have a great view of the room there based on my Zoom layout here, but if we do get that extra person, just interrupt me as we're doing this go around, okay?
I will.
Okay. Andrea, anything, whether it's Culture Days or just specific to some of the work that you're doing?
I'm just doing university work right now. But we have some great students in first year, and the upper year students are doing some amazing work. And it's it's the most energizing year in quite a while after, getting through some tough years. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we're gonna do in the next little while. Yeah. I can
Very
go on and on, but I won't.
It's very exciting to be able to have people actually be in person again and to be together in these.
Yeah, but we're running out of room. There's too many students in the first year class. So can only fit so many people.
Right. Miranda?
Sure. Thinking Rock is actually going to be taking part in Culture Days as part of the Sioux Cultural Corridor this year as well. We're going to be based out of the Old Stone House, working under one of the tents in their backspace with our intergenerational mending project. We'll be there this Friday. We'll be there October 1st, and we'll be there Friday, October the 14th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. We've got a quilt top that folks can come and be part of hand stitching with us. And we're also going to be reflecting on the idea of mending, both in the literal and the metaphorical senses. And everyone is welcome regardless of their handiness with a needle and thread. We're just glad to convene people and tell some stories and share some creative space.
Thanks, Miranda. So I see Donna's wonderful. Okay, so hi. Let's call this meeting to order effective 4:45 p.m. on Wednesday, September 21st. Do I have a motion for the adoption of the minutes that was included in your agenda package? Thank you. Moved by Larry, seconded by Donna. All those in favor, please remain silent. Anybody abstaining or opposed, please indicate so in the chat or open your mic to express your intent. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is any declaration of pecuniary interests. I'll just count to 5 in my head, and if nobody waves their hand or draws my attention, I'll assume there are no declarations or there are no declarations. Seeing none, we move on to item number 3, the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a mover for the agenda? Moved by Miranda, seconded by Donna. All those in favor, please remain silent. Anybody abstaining or opposed, please indicate so in the chat or open your mic to express your intent. Seeing none, the motion carries. Item number 4, business arising. We have item 4.1, public art funding, Plaza Indigenous Screen. So this is business arising from the minutes. It speaks to the proposal that was put forward to us at our last meeting, and there were a number of questions from committee members about the nature of the request, the investment that was being made to by the city in the public art components of the plaza, as this screen, if you recall from the concept designs that were shared last time, that would be part of the downtown plaza. And I believe there was a specific question about whether this request would be in addition to the, I think it was the minimum 1% of capital project budgets dedicated to public art, or if this is in addition to those funds, and if there were some other questions that I believe were largely cleared up around process, the community engagement process around the design and those sorts of things. But if there are any that are unaddressed, let's well, let's hear from Tom about this project, and if there's any questions, of course, we'll come to them. Tom, take it away.
Great, thanks, Sean. Yes, as you said, there were extensive community consultation process undertaken by Brooke McElroy, the firm that is overseeing the plaza design. Brooke McElroy has an Indigenous design practice, and so two of their employees engaged with a number of stakeholders here in the area, Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation. We talked to the First Nation student groups at Algoma University and Sioux College, the Métis Council of Sault Ste. Marie, and the Indigenous Friendship Center was also invited to participate in those meetings as well. And there was some good dialogue and feedback on the design as it went through the process. There was some initial dialogue on the history and the culture and the things that were important to the different groups. And then the group from Brooke McElroy came back and kind of presented what they heard and initial concepts, which were then refined to get to the final design. I will say it seemed like everybody was pleased from the meetings I participated in with the final design that they did come up with and the way they had incorporated the history of the region into that design, which we were really pleased with.
And I think there was a specific question as to whether the funds that were being requested for this submission, whether they were expected to be the 1% of the project funds that were for public art purposes, or whether these were in addition to the funds that would already be designated.
Right. Yeah. So they would make up part of the contribution for the 1%. The city, the overall project budget for the plaza is over $10 million. We have a number of components: the stage and the screen, the all the infrastructure that's going into supporting the Indigenous screen that's going in place would be covered by the city. So the footings and the labor, all the different components that go into that are all part of the contribution. And so the 40,000 would be part of that overall 1% towards making sure that the plaza does contain, arts and culture and contributes to the cultural vitality of the community.
Thanks, Tom. Any questions based on the new information that's been shared? Larry.
Timelines. Do we have any idea of timelines on all of this?
Yes, the Plaza project is under construction now. We're just working through with our architects and the team at Avery Construction, which is the general contractor on the project, to get this done. We're going to be a little bit delayed overall with the project, just given some of the supply chain issues that are being experienced in the industry right now. But we're hopeful to have the project up and running in the springtime, early summer next year.
Larry, a follow-up?
Yeah. Thank you very much, by the way. How is it going to tie into the waterfront? How do you move from one? I presume I live down near the library and the condos that are down in that area. So I'm walking there a lot, and I can see over that the construction is underway. And it seems to me, I'm just assuming that there are connections that they're intended to flow one into the other, but I'm not sure.
Yes, in terms of the metal screen, it's going to be installed, directly within the plaza property, adjacent, close to the Stone's office building, where that is now. Just south of that is where the metal screen will be. And then in terms of the plaza site overall, certainly, the way we're looking at tying that into the waterfront in the future is the development of Spring Street, Lower Spring Street, which would connect the waterfront to Queen Street and also, to the plaza property as kind of a prime gateway from the waterfront to the downtown and into the plaza. And then we've got the existing connections, obviously across Bay Street now and Spring Street, which can bring pedestrians to the site from the south. And then it will be fronting directly on Queen Street. The top end of the plaza fronts directly onto Queen Street.
It's amazing how many people are down here. It's
Yes.
just utterly amazing. I went for a walk yesterday, for example, around 4 o'clock. It was just a lot of people out, And one of the reasons I'm asking is that there are some bits of sculpture, for example, that are up, that have been put out, I think, by the art gallery. And the area seems to adapt itself well to, people are playing around them, people are picnicking around them.
Sorry to interrupt, Larry. We're just running very short on time because we only have 6 minutes before we lose quorum, as Andrea will have.
I'm just filling time. I didn't know you were pressed.
Oh, no worries. Are there, Donna, I recognize your hand.
I'm a little confused. Why, from as a counselor and having gone through this project and the various different, funding requirements that we've gone through to get this done. And I completely believe in this plaza project, and I know that it's going to change the downtown. It's going to change our community. But I'm confused as to why this particular component is not part of the original budget or part of the original thinking. I mean, it's been part of the plan. So I'm really struggling with why we just have such limited public art funding, and we have so far to go in terms of how we could feature our public art and how we could, we just have so far to go. And I don't, can you help me, like, what am I missing? Why did we not include this originally? Why is it left outside for us to take the majority of the budget that we have left over for this year for something that can you help me understand?
Yeah, sure. I think the metal screen and was always part of the original design and the process for the plaza in the budget. As we've gone out to look for additional, sponsors and support for the plaza project, we thought this might be appropriate for this group to consider supporting the metal screen component of the project, which would help us as we continue to, construct the plaza and work to finalize the project as a whole.
Any follow-up from that, Donna, or do I return to the floor?
Who is we?
City staff.
Any other questions?
If we decide that we don't want to use this money from our budget, and I'm a little confused as to how the 1%, like how the city funds 1% when it's a city's project, right? Whereas normally that would come from outside of the city, like you have other development projects where 1% comes out of that to help our public art budget. If we decide not to support this, then what happens, Tom?
We'll certainly find a way to make this happen with the metal screen and make sure that this is a component of the plaza. We'll work to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I think there was a resolution stemming from our previous discussion. Could you read that, Sam?
Yeah. So I have resolved that the Cultural Vitality Committee recommend that City Council support the Downtown Plaza Indigenous Screen Project and approve 40,000 in public art funding.
Is there a mover for the resolution? Andrea, are you raising your hand or are you moving?
Sure, I can move it.
Okay.
If we need to move it, or
no
we
worries.
don't need to move it to discuss. before we-
Well, we will go to discussion after, but I think we're going to run out of time and we'll probably have to reconvene in October anyway. So,
Yeah,
is there a seconder for the resolution?
I can try and keep the students, get them to wait for like 10 minutes.
I'll second it so we can discuss it.
Very,
Okay,
very
give
well.
me-
Great. Okay. And then if we lose quorum, Sam, I believe the process would be that this would still technically be moved. It would just sort of be in limbo and on our agenda for the next meeting. Okay. So any questions, comments? Now the discussion is open on the resolution.
Aren't we, we don't operate by Robert's rules?
We should be. I'm sorry if I've.
Because I think under Robert's rules, if you've got a quorum and somebody goes away so that you don't have a quorum, you can still continue unless somebody calls for a quorum.
I did look that up. Unfortunately, that's not true when it comes to voting on resolutions.
Okay.
You can continue discussion but not like you can continue being in a meeting that's being documented in terms of discussion, but not a vote. Any other questions or comments?
What else were we going to do with the money if we didn't apply it to this?
And I'm not sure if that's just a rhetorical question or if it's directed at anyone. I don't, if it is for people to respond to, I don't have a response because we don't have a strategy for public art at this time. But if there's any other comments or questions, Donna, and then Andrea.
To Tom, how crucial is it that we make a decision today?
It's not critical. So if the group wants to spend more time to reflect or think on it, it's not critical. The decision is made today.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Tom. Andrea.
Yeah, I think if we can get that other piece from Virginia around what the other projects that might be impacted by this would be, that would be really helpful in making the decision, because I think, you know, my initial question around the funding for this goes back to what Donna brought up around the intention of that 1% of a large capital build, is that it does not get put in by the city or a city's cultural fund. It should be coming from other funding for the project. But I mean, this might be an exceptional case too. So I think if we don't have other projects that we have to allocate the money to, then I would feel okay with having the funds go towards this. But again, I want to know what it's going to impact.
And any other, Sam?
So I just did want to note, Verge did give me the balance of the account. So as of right now, there is 56,000 in there, and an additional 40,000 will be put into the fund for allocated in 2023.
Great. And what was the total request amount again for this project?
40,000.
40. Okay. So that would basically leave us with another 56,000 next year.
Correct.
Andrea?
Yeah, I mean, I think in that case, unless we know that we have, you know, a larger project that we want to save up for 2023, we're getting late in the year. And then if we can show that we're moving that budget on a regular basis, I think that's better than trying to hold on to it too long.
Mm-hmm.
And getting, you know, more projects out more quickly. might have a bigger impact than trying to store up for higher end projects for the time being. But maybe that's part of that longer strategy of getting the long-term projects determined soon.
Great, thank you. Just checking in with Miranda and Yasmina. You don't feel obliged to comment, but if you have thoughts to share, I know you haven't shared yet. But... No, okay. Larry?
What is the city's fiscal year? Like, when does it begin and end? Is it a calendar year?
Calendar year, that's right.
So our pot will be refreshed in January 1st.
That's right.
Donna, then Andrea?
I would feel better if we had an opportunity between now and October or whatever, if as Tom, and I should say if as Tom says, Tom has said it's not crucial to have an answer right now. I would like to understand more about what will a public art strategy cost? What are we, because that is something that these funds could be used for, is for us to create a plan that would then, that then we could see a vision for what we're trying to accomplish. I mean, for $40,000 a year, and that's the amount that it is today, but $40,000 a year is really not a lot of money. And if we use that 40,000 now to fund this project, then that means that next year, we're not making any progress. We're not changing the vision. We're not seeing public art change in any way necessarily, notwithstanding the wonderful work that's happening with the murals. Because certainly visually they are, and culturally, et cetera, and from a vitality perspective, they're very important and they do change the dynamic in terms of how we view the downtown. But I would, from my perspective, I would appreciate an opportunity to understand more about how could we do a strategy and perhaps help with this particular project, or help with part of this project. If maybe there's a way we can do part of it, then, and Tom could find funds from other places for other parts of it. I don't know, but I feel like putting the majority of the money that we have on any given year into this particular item, when funds have come from other places to fund this particular project, just leaves us another year behind in our efforts to do something really great with public art in the community. That's how I'm feeling at this moment.
Thanks, Donna. Andrea?
Just for clarity, I don't know, Tom, if you can answer this, or Samantha, but our funds carry over. Any of the public art money that's not used does carry over to the next year?
Yes, that's my understanding. It'll carry over.
Okay. Thanks.
Very much. Based on people's contributions, I do sense some desire to defer this to our October meeting. Would somebody like to make a motion to defer this resolution to the October meeting? Moved by Andrea, seconded by Larry. All those in favor? Well, sorry, open for discussion, if there's any discussion. Larry?
Just as long, I think Donna raises a really good and important point. We're just acting willy-nilly and throwing money around. On the other hand, this will be a very, very prominent piece. And how do I put this? I'm sure I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know. This is a very controversial project within the community. And I would not want us to, and I happen to think that it's a really good project. I wouldn't want there to be anything that delayed it, that put it in jeopardy. Let's put it that way. So maybe it's a matter of how we, and again, it's a good reason for deferral. Maybe Tom can go away and think about this too. If the money we need now, we do it on an understanding that we would get money in order to do a strategy. Because right now we're just pitching money at things, and we don't have any guidelines, we don't have any vision on it.
Thanks, Larry. Any further discussion on the motion to defer? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of deferral, please remain silent. Anybody abstaining or opposed, please indicate so in the chat or open your mic to express your intent. The motion to defer carries.
Thank you. I'll step out and let you continue. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us, Tom, and thank you so much for the information that you shared.
Sure thing. Take care.
And Andrea, I know that you probably also have to go. So with that, we lose quorum, and I wish you all well. I'll stick around as long as you need me, but otherwise, I wish you a very good evening. Earlier before we had achieved quorum, I had mentioned that given we'll have likely 2 meetings to go over the applications for the Arts and Culture Assistance Program in November, we might want to consider delaying or deleting our October meeting. However, considering we didn't get to, well, we've just made a motion to defer a resolution to our October meeting, and we need to look at the Community Recognition Award as well. We should probably keep to that schedule. But just to flag, November is going to be a very busy month for us. Also recall that our terms on this committee do extend past the election date, which is October 24th, but they evaporate quickly thereafter. So there is a notice in the agenda about when to have your applications for reappointment. And that's not just for existing committee members, that's for anybody watching who's interested in the work of the Cultural Vitality Committee. If you are interested in joining this and contributing to this work, being part of these discussions, well, everyone can be a part of the discussions, it's a public meeting, but of being part of the committee, please do consider submitting an application under our new council, however it's formed. So any thoughts anybody wants to share? Just the bunch of us, even though it has no bearing on decision items?
Actually, I have a question about this. I'm still thinking. I wasn't at the last meeting, so I wasn't part of the whole discussion about this project. And I am not against or for Plaza, I'm whatever, I don't know. But my question is, the existing 40 or 56,000, does anybody know where that comes from?
Yes, I think I
City
can answer
budget?
this.
Is that from the city budget or?
It would be. And it's basically the amounts that have been designated by the previous city budgets that we have not spent yet. It's $40,000 a year from the
yes, I know that. Yeah.
And then the additional 16,000 that we have that makes up the 56. That's an amount that carried forward from the previous year that we didn't spend. We had, I think we made a similar contribution to the public art installation in the Northern Community Center. Is that accurate? It was a similar situation, and I think that's part of what where some of the concern is coming from. Certainly I share all of the sentiments that have been shared as well today, that this is a, especially the screen that's presented, the process that went into it, the visual, the artistic merit of it, phenomenal. But the question is really about, we're largely seeing these applications come in for city projects, city capital projects. And I think, we want to have, or I've heard some concern about, first of all, that it's hard to judge these things in isolation, right? Because we get one application at a time. So we don't know if there's going to be future applications that come in. So it's hard to sort of assess, yeah.
But also not having the procedure in place or the strategy in place. Let's say I'm an artist and I want to do a public art. How am I going to go about it?
Yeah. Where
do I apply? who tells me what is available? Is there a space available? Is there, like, where would I go?
You know, I think
Or
you really.
I have to wait to see a call for proposals. But I never saw a call for proposal in Sault Ste. Marie. I see them in other communities all the time.
Yasmina, I think you've perfectly distilled the concern that I had as well, right? Because it's really about access. You know, who has access to ask for?
Yes. That's
Um,
why I started
funds
with
for the
asking,
public
where is
art.
the money coming from? Who
Yeah.
has the access to the money? Because all of those things, let's just be honest, we will be all judged how we make our decisions based on that.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why, if I may, Sean, that's why I think, and I'm gonna keep fighting for it, that's why I think the strategy is so important, because it gives us a roadmap. It says what we're trying to accomplish. It puts this vision out, and then it says, here's how we're gonna get there, right? And we're not there yet, so.
No, I think you're really right, Donna.
Yeah, I tend not to share my thoughts as chair, just to sort of facilitate the discussion, but I agree with absolutely everything each of you have said about this.
As do I.
Yeah.
Wait, Sean, what's the date for, or Sam, what's the date for the October meeting?
Well, there was actually a request that we consider changing it because we're going to run into quorum problems again, I think, if we have it at the same designated time, just because I think a couple of our members, Andrea was able to articulate it. I'm not sure if it's a similar boat for Jane, but the timing makes it so that they can only, or certainly Andrea has expressed that she can only attend for half an hour because that's the space she has between one class ending and another beginning. So we may want to do another doodle poll just to see if there's a better time, especially my schedule has changed as of September as well. So do you have any thoughts on that, Donna?
Oh, no, just I get that. My teaching schedule changed too. So all of a sudden when you were available this day, you're not anymore, right?
Yeah.
We're not in control of that, as we shouldn't be. So, you know, however we could facilitate getting as many people as possible to the next meeting, that would be ideal.
Larry?
Would we dare to send a letter to Mr. Bear asking him questions that touch upon the issues raised with this screen? You know, was there a call? Was there a call for proposals? You know, put a question which really makes the public transparency front and center. You know, when he says, I mean, this is really why I asked him, you know, the question that I did, and he said, well, who is we? Well, he said staff. So did it come out of somebody's office, or did they put out a call? And they must have a design even.
Oh, just to clarify, Larry, there wasn't a public call for submissions for this project. This was covered, I think, at our last meeting a few months ago, excuse me, where it was the design team for the group that holds the contract for the plaza. And so they pulled together specific artists around this particular project. So it wasn't a public call. I mean, there was a public tender for the larger plaza project, but not specifically for this component of it. So that's some clarity on that process. But to your point about could we ask questions? Yes, we could, but we'd have to have quorum to pass a resolution for it to be like from the committee. Now, anybody can ask Tom questions as a staff person of the city. But for it to be from the committee, we would need quorum and pass a resolution.
Well, the fact that you have consultants come in and design the whole idea and the council fund it doesn't obviate the I don't want to say necessity, but the process of calling for for proposals. And it's the whole transparency thing. I didn't understand this, and I just feel like we've been dropped on.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I agree with you 100%. That's why I asked that question, because if the designers designed this as part of the project, then it is the cost of the project.
Yeah.
And Jasmina, that's exactly my question.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly my question. Why is it
then it isn't a call to artists for a public art project. Then it is a project cost because they did it.
So give us the money and we'll put out a call for proposals.
Yes. And we'll say what we want to achieve with that. And like, there are so many examples of these calls out there every week. One.
Although we already have the money. You're asking for it from us.
We have the money, but we were not asked.
But aren't we using this pot to do installations at the new arenas in the West End, the new double pad and whatever's going on in there?
That was the last request that came to us. And I think it probably sparked similar concerns at the time. And I think seeing a similar pattern come with this one is what really made everybody sort of stop and say, wait a minute, let's
Number one,
pump the brakes here.
It should come from us, this call to artists for a project based on that strategy and vision. It should be us asking the public, asking the artists to submit the proposal. And we give them where, and we give them what, and we give them the budget. And I think that even in the policy that is already there, if I recall, Donna, I can't remember anymore. I think we outlined some process. So I think we should read that policy again.
We definitely did for the Arts and Cultural Assistance Program. And I think that we were just shy of really developing that for the public art component. Because
the working group finished our work.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And
yeah,
I know
back to
because
that.
I was involved.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and Donna was there. So we finished that. So I don't know where it is, but this
It was passed by
was
the committee.
outlined.
Yeah.
It was outlined right there.
Yeah, that we had the definition of what public art is and so on and so on and so on, all that stuff, right? But
Yes.
but now I think we need to take a step back, I guess, and I mean, I don't know, personally speaking, I don't know that it's going to be something that we're going to, you know, from the perspective of this project and what was planned within the project, I don't know that we're going to be able to say, no, you can't do that because, you know, we need to do this under a different system because we don't really have that system in place yet. But my concern is, as you clearly, you know, I've clearly said, and you guys are definitely understanding, is it's about where the money comes from, right? And in the absence of a strategy, we need one going forward because then all the rules are clear. The vision's clear, all the rules are clear, and away we go, right?
I would still like to ask the last and final version of the public art policy, whether it's approved by the council or not, to be circulated to all of us for the next, before we go into this discussion.
Oh, it was passed by this committee.
Yes.
And
I don't know if there are any changes or what, because that is already a document we are to follow in some ways.
Jasmina, I think that this particular project as part of the plaza might have been well underway before we did that, because the plaza plans have been in place for, oh gosh, I'm gonna say a couple of years now, right? And they got delayed because of various reasons, including the pandemic. And so I think that train might have already left the station before we put our plan in place. But I'm sure Sam could share that with us again, the actual policy, which we approved, and it was, from my recollection anyways, it was approved by council. So just, that would be a good thing for us to all have refresh in our memory what we did do, and the specifics and the scope of that. And then,
And even if we approve this and we vote for it, I think it still has to be understood that maybe it's an exception.
Yeah, that would have, I would definitely,
right.
that's been something that's been rolling around in my mind, because, I like the work. It would be great to, if we have to use this fund to support it, so be it, but let's not make a habit of this.
That's my point, because
Yeah.
when you just mentioned this other project that happened the same way, well then, why did we work on the public art policy? Why are we going with the strategy? Why?
Oh, we're not in session, Larry. You don't need me to
Okay.
recognize you.
I missed a meeting in the spring.
Oh,
for
sorry,
health
but we are still recording, just so you know. We're live streaming. Yeah.
I missed a meeting in the spring for health reasons, but I don't even know what this screen looks like. Do we have a concept of the?
Yeah, actually, why don't I dig through my notes? I might have a copy of it.
Or maybe
in
a
an old
previous-
email.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it was considered before I joined the committee. I'm not sure. But
Sam, do you remember if it was in the
I think it was in the spring or the early winter or the spring that we saw the design, Larry. It hasn't been that, I don't think so. It hasn't been that long.
I can't remember whether we were in whether it was in the agenda package or if we saw a presentation. If it's in an agenda package, I can dig it up for you, Larry. If otherwise, we'll have to ask for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. I have to go to the Delta and
No
bring
worries.
some remarks to a conference. So I'm gonna go do that.
I have to go too.
Me too.
Me
Nice
too.
to see everybody.
But
I'm sorry I
anyway,
held you up with my crazy day. My apologies.
Oh, we all take turns having the crazy day. Don't worry. It's not you.
okay, well,
Guys,
good to bye.
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 Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody, for this discussion. Really helpful to hear from everyone.
Well, I'm slow.
No.
Because I wasn't at the last meeting, so I kind of was trying to process.
Neither was I, Yasmina, and you asking those questions and processing with us, I found really helpful. So thank you.
Thanks, Miranda. I
Yeah.
like your hair. This is off the record.